We're seeing more and more software people come into hardware, and that's exemplified by our next speaker. Previously, he was at Amazon, and he founded Opscode, aka Chef. Now he's the CEO of OnBeep. And OnBeep just launched their Star Trek communicator, the Onyx. Jesse Robbins is going to come out after we show this video that introduces the Onyx. Roll clip.
Okay, coast is clear. Rocket, how are we?
Rocket is rolling.
Cake team?
On our way.
Co-pilot.
Co-pilot is ready.
Suit team.
We have a problem. We are missing a glove. Repeat, anyone seen a glove?
Not here.
Not here either.
This is co-pilot. We have the glove. Repeat, we have the glove.
Mothership, it's time.
Are you ready to go?
Yeah.
Let's go.
We have Mothership inbound. Launch team, sound off.
Rocket is ready.
Cake team, ready.
Suit team, ready.
We are ready for launch.
4, 3, 2, 1, blast
Hello, I'm Jesse Robbins, creator and founder of OnBeep. We make the Onyx, which is our little communication device. The interesting thing for us, if we can switch to the actual slide presentation, this device is a simple Bluetooth device that allows a smartphone to become something very powerful. This conference, most events, many venues, sort of every great moment that requires people to come together has a real-time communication service that makes that possible. And we've taken a simple device that connects to a smartphone via Bluetooth, works over any network, connects to our service, and allows people to communicate without pulling their phones out. So it's a simple wearable. It clips to your shirt or a bag or a purse strap, and it allows you to communicate with groups of people anywhere they are in the world in real time. The interesting thing about what we've done is we're a hardware startup that really began building this project about a year ago, and we announced last month. We launched last month, and we're just beginning to ship now. Brady asked me here to talk a little bit about what we've done that's different. So when we launched a month ago, rather than kind of a big Kickstarter-style build-up, we instead had a single moment where we showed the world what we were doing. We've had incredible news and press coverage, interest from thousands of people, TV coverage in the US in over 100 different markets, and massive pre-order success, and then somewhat unusually shipping about a month later. So I wanted to talk today about how a lot of startups like ours are kind of learning the lessons of the last 2 years for the kind of maker Kickstarter movement, and building around kind of world-changing experiences that provide new interfaces to the world. So when you build a consumer device, people immediately have strong opinions. What they see is an endpoint. They see this end device. This is the Square Reader. The Square Reader is a world-changing interface, but it depends on a transport layer, a network connection layer working, cell phones, network. It depends on software. It depends on a core platform that people connect to and are able to build on. And then it connects to a back-end data platform that has to make all of the other pieces and components work together. This is common for all the startups that you're starting to see in the world building physical things that sort of have any real massive scale potential. When we talk about this, we see the Kindle, the Amazon Kindle. Again, people look at the device, but the device is just a front end. It's just a piece of something much bigger. It connects via WhisperSync or via Wi-Fi. It connects to a backend. It uses data that gets richer and richer over time. We see DropCam and other services like it, Nest, doing the exact same thing. It's a hardware device, but the hardware device is just the beginning. It's an interface. It depends on Wi-Fi, an app, a network, a website, pieces in the back that make that experience better. And hopefully, OnBeep is following in the same pattern with Onyx. It's certainly intended to do so. We make a simple device that connects to a smartphone, that connects to a data platform, that gets richer and richer over time. And just as a standalone thing doesn't do very much. You need all of these components in order to work and change. So this is kind of what we're seeing with the new startups that we believe are changing the world. These are very ambitious, very challenging, but they require all of these pieces to work well. It's not just making the device, it's making the service, it's making the experience, everything else around it. So we've seen a lot of startups sort of make the following mistake. So they believe that the process begins with a great idea, and then you launch that on a crowdfunding website. You then sort of press this giant China button, and suddenly your product becomes real, and you're profiting massively, and everything's hugely successful. This is kind of the core story that's being told right now. And what I wanted to do was provide some real data as a founder myself and what it took to get from step one to shipping product, providing actual costs and other expenses. So in general, the guideline it's between $1,000 and $10,000 for 1 to 3 people for 1 to 2 months. To build a proof of concept, a first version. There's a prototype stage. So this is after you've kind of built a thing that you'd be embarrassed to show anyone. The prototype stage is like maybe a little less embarrassing, and I've got some photos. And then to get to production, you're really spending between $100,000 and $1 million for an American company to get into a state where they are ready to manufacture. This is not the cost of actually manufacturing the devices. This is simply all the little bits and pieces that go into that process. So for OnBeep, we spent $20,000. It took us 3 months. We began in May of 2013. So here you can see on the table the proof of concept, which looked like something we bought from Radio Shack because it mostly was. A few months later, we went to our first board prototype, which was actually made by a real engineer. We had hired our first employee and sort of moved on. And then we were able to build something that we could actually show people and test. And so that was the first, $20,000 to $30,000. After that point, after we knew what we were building was right, people wanted it, this was a problem that actually had global scale consumer appeal, we began to spend what ultimately was about $1 million in order to get to the point where we could manufacture the device I just showed you. That means that startups that want a Kickstarter, startups that want to do a crowdfunding project, have to plan for this, or they typically fail or struggle because they don't have enough money to do all the stuff that they need to do to get from, boy, that's really cool, to actually a shipping product. This is really all hard engineering stuff as well. It's not stuff that you can easily teach yourself. I'm going to talk a little bit about it. So the first thing, though, is the way that this gets funded is typically through what I call credit cards and foolishness. You don't need money to build that first prototype. You can fund it yourself if you're willing to take the risk yourself, which you should be. Then, as soon as you get a prototype, even if you're sort of doing some form of Kickstarter, you're going to need outside funding because the amount of money it takes to get through these stages is out of the reach of most sort of makers and hackers. As soon as you have any level of proof, that is when typical investors are coming in, and typically in these situations. So sometimes crowdfunding works here as well. Highway 1, Brady's program, the Hackcelerator program, Ben just spoke about that, tend to bring you through from proof to prototype. And then that allows you to make a choice between the types of funding options that you want. This is a relatively new phenomenon, and it's pretty interesting, particularly because this is a picture of a real VC. I've blurred him to protect his identity. Talking to my lead hardware engineer, most of VCs don't know how to make hardware, and so they ask a lot of very strange questions in the process. So this is, why do you need a microscope? Why can't you just simulate everything in software? So prototyping is really easy. Manufacturing is hard and requires very skilled people. People often confuse 3D printing and other sort of rapid manufacturing things with the steps required to actually get to real scale. For instance, this is how Lego 3D printers work. This is an injection molding tool. This is a real engineering discipline. This is the sort of thing you have to spend money to build when you're building your first plastic enclosure. And that's not mentioned on sort of the crowdfunding websites and approaches. Sylvia Wu, my lead mechanical engineer, says hardware manufacturing is trusting the most important pieces of your business to people you've never met. And that is absolutely true. So when you're trying to figure out how do we bootstrap or get more hardware startups to start building, you need to understand that this is about relationships with suppliers and other things. The world is changing right now with these programs designed to get startups out into the market, but you have to understand that you're building for real giant scale. And one way of thinking about it is that it's sort of like small suppliers versus big suppliers. You can get a lot of early help at the prototyping stage, and you've got sort of artisanal, lovely, organic materials. And then if you're going to serve a lot of units, you're going to need people that can provide massive scale. And that need appears very, very quickly. So small suppliers are not able to work with you to get big, and the big guys will only work with you on the promise of greatness. So if you're running a hardware startup or you're thinking about that, you really need to begin with the end in mind. You need to understand you can't just begin with a small thing and assume it's just going to work out. You have to be setting yourself up from the beginning with an understanding you're going to build millions of units and you're hopefully going to change the world. So, promise of greatness, solution is be great. It's been an incredible journey for me. I encourage you to see our product, Onyx, at OnBeep.com. Thank you all very much for the time.